Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader, and we're going to take a look at UKG and AFA loose graded vintage Star Wars figures. And yesterday, Treasures from the Attic, who we've covered in the past, I think I've even bought from them, he or she listed a ton of beautiful Spanish figures, and I sent them out to my Patreon supporters, and a number of them were snapped right up. I was hoping some of them would survive the 24-hour moratorium that I place on myself when something that I see pops up that I really want to buy myself. I sent it to my Patreon supporters first in a buy it now alert, and they were all pretty much gone within about 12 hours. So congrats on that. And after kind of a lull for loose graded figures on eBay, there were a number of big time sales over the last week or two. So let's go ahead and dig right in. And we're going to start off with Treasures from the Attic. And wow, they listed some real beauties last night, and they almost all of them sold very quickly. So first is the Regresso Lily Letty Yoda, the more common of the two Lily Letty Yodas. This is the Regresso. The earlier version is the Returno with kind of the reddish brown eyes, slightly different skin color. But this is the later version, which is a no COO with a bright green skin and the black Pac-Man eyes. This was a UKG 85%. One of my Patreon supporters did grab this one. It was listed for £495. Best offer accepted was £445, which is $569 US. Great buy on that one. That was a beauty. Freshly graded, new case style. Here was another one I sent out. This is a Spanish PBP Han Solo. It was listed for £195. It sold for £155, which is about $200. Again, about fair. The PBP Han is a little easier to find than the earlier Spanish Poch version. They usually both have kind of palish hands, and sometimes the PBP version can also have a pale chest. This one appears to have more of a pinkish chest. The Spanish Poch version is known for very pale chest, very pale hands. This one's kind of a little bit pinker in color, and it does have the Scar COO versus the Spanish Poch, which obviously has the Hong Kong COO. But this is the PBP. That one did sell. Next up is another one this is one I really wanted, okay? So I did send it out, and this is the light brown neck Spanish Poch Lando. So I have the black neck Spanish Poch Lando in a UKG 85%. I would love to pair it with this one. I didn't even know this one existed until one of you all who were watching the video said, hey, there is also a light brown neck Spanish Poch. So this one did get listed. It was UKG 80%. It was listed for £225. It did sell for £185, which is $237 US. I almost instantly bought this, but I gave my Patreon supporters a first go at it, and it did sell for about $237 US. Here was the other one I really wanted. This is the gray head Spanish Poch Yoda, UKG 80%. And that one did get instantly bought by a Patreon supporter. Congrats on that one. I really wanted that one too. That was a real stunner. And it did have some light nicks on the hands, things like that, but I think it was appropriately graded. Very desirable variant. And that one did sell for the asking price of $479 US. And again, I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't buy the Lando and the Yoda. Those are two variants that I'm looking for. But I got to give my Patreon supporters first dibs. I usually do anyway. I don't always, but I think that it was important to give dibs on some of these. Here was another one that a Patreon supporter bought. This is the Spanish Poch, and it was labeled red hair, and you can see it does have kind of a reddish tint to the hair. UKG 80%, Spanish Poch red hair. And that one was listed and sold for £395, which is $504 US. That's one I don't think you see very often. Very tough to find that one. You can see this one also has some kind of paint rub to the hands, which is common for the early Spanish figures. They're just kind of known to have poor paint applications, factory overspray. The paint rubs off really easily. Poor sonic welding. I mean, some of those Spanish figures can just disintegrate in your hands because the welding on it, the sonic welding on them are just kind of known for that. So that one was a beauty. That's the first, I don't remember there being a Spanish Poch Princess Leia Bespin gown on eBay ever, but maybe there has been, I just don't remember. But I thought that was a beauty as well, and I really wanted that one. Here was the other one I really wanted. I mean, I wanted all of them, but I didn't end up getting any of them. This was the Spanish Poch Luke Skywalker Farm Boy. UKG 75%. And obvious discoloration to the limbs, which is common. Some rubbing to the hand paint as well. Very pale face on this one. But man, what a beauty. It was listed for 595 pounds. It sold for 525 pounds, which is 671 US dollars. Oh, man, I really wanted that one. That's a beautiful figure. And this seller or some other, maybe one of the other Spanish experts that sells on eBay, like Treasures from the Attic, who's the other one? Muffin Man. They usually get this one in occasionally, but the PBP variant for the Spanish Farm Boy is very tough to find. That one is very brittle and usually is cracked on the chest portion. But this Spanish Poch, man, that was a beautiful, beautiful figure. On to some AFA graded examples. We had an AFA 85 toe dent version of the Blue Snags archival case that sold at auction $1,026. To me, that's kind of right in line with where they've really been selling. It's, Blue Snaggletooths in general are very desirable. This one did have the brand new case style and the archival case, as I mentioned, but $1,026 on that one. CIB had a few variants that were for sale. This was the letter on saber hilt, Hong Kong Darth Vader, so a fairly common version, and they also did provide a nice close-up of the letter on the saber hilt. You can see right there on the hilt, it's got a U for the letter, and there are collectors out there that try to get every single variant of the letters, and there's like 75 or 100 of them. This one did sell for $232.50. They also did have an AFA 85 plus Taiwan Boba Fett, so a little bit higher grade. You're going to be paying a little bit more, and I think now that there are population reports on the AFA website, I think you'll start to see the AFA 85s or the 85 pluses and the 90s start to jump up in price a little bit more. Maybe I'm wrong. But for Boba Fett, there are a lot of 85 pluses on the population report. I don't remember the exact number, but I think especially the 90s, you'll probably start seeing some big-time prices for 90s, 90 pluses if they ever show up on eBay. Very rarely do they show up on eBay, but 90s especially, I think for Last 17 or, maybe some of the alternate characters, like the secondary characters that are tougher to get in a 90 grade, and they're freshly graded with a new case. I bet you'll start to see those prices jump now that the population reports are available. Anyway, this 85 plus for the Taiwan Fett did sell for $331, and that's about where they're going. I mean, I don't think that's a significant jump by any means, but Boba Fett is one that does have a lot of 85 pluses and even 90s on the population report. So maybe not for Boba Fett, but maybe some of these other characters where they're really tough to get in 85 pluses and 90s. I bet you'll see some big jumps. Here was kind of an interesting dichotomy. So CIB had an AFA 85 at auction, and then another seller had an AFA 80 at auction. They both ended right around the same time. CIB's AFA 85 Yak Face sold for $669, which is actually a lot lower than where I've been seeing it sell. And you could maybe make an argument that it's got some issues around the trousers. The hands look good. The feet look pretty good. The trousers, you could argue, have some chipping on it, or maybe it just could be dust. But to me, it looks like some chipping on it. And that one sold, again, for $669. And then you had this one that was an AFA 80, and you can see some discoloration to the torso. So look at the torso on that one and the difference in color between the sleeves at the shoulder versus the rest of the shirt, versus this one where it's much more uniform in color. And again, it's an AFA 80 versus this one, which was an AFA 85. But this AFA 80 archival case, new case style, sold for $811. So it's crazy. That one ended on June 2nd. This one ended on June 2nd. So you got to be careful, because to me, I was shocked by that. I would think that CIB, given that they're worldwide shippers and they attract maybe a more expensive, discerning collector that maybe is international, that does not have access to the U.S. auctions. And, CIB will show up on some of these international websites, international eBay sites. So I would think that given that it's a higher grade And given that CIB who's selling it, it's a trusted seller for some of the, maybe someone in like Spain, whatever. They're looking for an AFA 85 yak face. They're not going to see this one, but this one's only in the U.S., right? It's a California seller. So I am shocked by that. $669 versus $811 for a lower grade yak face. And, you know, they both ended the same day. So it's just crazy how it works sometimes. Next up, this seller had some beautiful AFA 85s. First is a China Stormtrooper. So you can see their CH. That just means it's from the China factory. So these appeared on later Kenner Return of the Jedi card backs when the China figures were kind of more prominent. It was an AFA 85. And, you know, you could maybe say that there's some slight color differentiation on the limbs. I don't know. To me, it looks like shadows. It looks like a very clean AFA 85 to me. That's, you know, I could be wrong, you know. That one sold for $272, which I thought was a very fair deal. Here was a Hong Kong Boba Fett AFA 85. That one sold for $222.50. And again, going back to the population report from AFA, I think that now that people can look up the certification numbers for an AFA 85 Hong Kong Boba Fett, the most common one there is, and see just how many of them there are in an AFA 85, I think you'll see the AFA 85 Hong Kongs especially drop in price. And they were already dropping in price. They were kind of going 200 to 250 anyway, 225 to 250 really. But I think that you'll see this one come back down even further, maybe closer to 200 bucks. I could be wrong because it is Boba Fett. He's a very popular character, and people will always want an AFA 85 near mint plus condition Boba Fett. So maybe I'm wrong on that. But I'd be curious to see, you know, it's June right now, maybe by December, for a standard Hong Kong AFA 85 loose graded Boba Fett with a new case, does the price drop or not? So hopefully I'll remember to look at that in December of this year, and we'll see. But now that the population reports are out, you'll see just how many of them there are out there that I think they'll drop. Next up, AFA 85 Hoth Snow Trooper. This one had the separate eye slits. It wasn't labeled as such on this one, but it was an archival case, AFA 85. They started labeling it separate eye slits versus univisor, and Hong Kong, or excuse me, the COO on the boot versus the leg. And, you know, maybe this particular variant from this particular factory didn't have those variations, but it is a Hong Kong. So I would think that this maybe was before they started separating that out on the population reports. But nowadays, I think that they always separate eye slits versus univisor, and then the boot versus the leg. But anyway, this AFA 85 archival case sold for $194.50. Pretty good deal there, I thought. Here was an AFA 85 orange logo AT-AT driver, and that one had the new case, $157.50. Good deal on that one as well. This is the one I should have bid on, and I was going to bid on it, but I forgot. Sunday we had some family in town, and I got distracted. My wife took, not to diverge too much, she slapped 2 gigantic slabs of uncooked ribs at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon and said, I want you to smoke these. And I'm like, Liz, it takes like 4 to 6 hours to properly smoke ribs. It's 5 o'clock. We're going to be eating dinner at 11 o'clock. So I was really mad about that. And of course, I got distracted on this one, and I was planning on bidding on it. I just forgot to put my snipe in, forgot to, you know, just totally forgot about it. But this is the no COO TIE Fighter pilot. This is one I still need. I've got the China, I've got the Hong Kong, I've got the Spanish PBP, and I've got the Lily Letty. Did I say that? China, Hong Kong, Spanish PBP, and Lily Letty. Yeah, those are the 4 I've got, all AFA graded. So I wanted to get this one because it's the no COO that, you know, this one appeared on Palatoys or Tri-Logos. And this is the last one I still needed, an AFA 85, and I just forgot about it. And it sold for $138.50, which I thought was a really good deal. And I would have paid that all day long. So congrats whoever got that. That's to my wife, not to the buyer. That's to my wife. Here is that no COO AFA 85 Death Squad Commander. Tough to find this one in a no COO. I thought that was a good deal at $177.50. I would have bought that too if I had been felt like spending money. Here is a no COO wide face Imperial Commander, AFA 85. So, you know, I just find like no COOs in AFA cases, they don't tend to pop up that much. So I should have bid on these. That one sold for $107.50. Bargain. Man, I would have bought that in a heartbeat. Some last 17 before we dig into a couple of really nice grails. Here is a Barata archival case AFA 85. That sold in an auction for $202.50. Really good deal on that one. And then here was an old case AFA 85 Luke Skywalker in Stormtrooper disguise. It says Luke Stormtrooper AFA 85 old case. That one sold for $735. Now again, I don't know if it hold up under if you send it in to get recased. The arms and legs maybe look a little darker, but it could be shadows again. But to me, it looks like the arms and the legs are a slightly different color than the torso, and it probably wouldn't hold up if you sent it in to get regraded. Probably would get dropped to an 80 plus or an 80 or an overall AFA 80. Who knows though? Anyway, that one sold for $735. Here are the two big boys. So the first one is from LJ's Card Shop. I think I sent this out to you guys in a what to buy video. This was an archival AFA 85 removable hood Lily Letty Jawa. So this one did have the older case, but it's I consider this one a mini grail, really. Very tough to find this one in such high grade. That one sold for $16.75, which was kind of in line with what my expectations were. I said it would probably sell between $1,600 and $1,800, so it came in towards the lower end of that range. This is a good candidate, though, to send it back in to get recased. I think that this case is kind of, The tape around the weapon really detracts from it. I would send that one back in and get it recased. But that's a beauty. That was a really nice item. And you can see the big lemon eyes, lemon-shaped eyes. Very distinctive Lily Letty with the removable hood. Absolute stunner. And here was one that I also had in my What to Buy video. That this one, I did get an email from one of my Patreon subscribers or just subscribers, I can't remember. But congrats who bought it. He said he did put it in an offer and he did get it accepted. This is the Hungarian Bootleg open hand Darth Vader. And he said that he spoke with the seller, and this is the only graded example known as far as he knows. It was the only graded example on the population report for AFA, but I don't think CAS has graded one, and I'm pretty sure that UKG has not graded one of these. So this one is a stunner. It's the only graded example known right now, to my knowledge. So it was an archival case, AFA 85, open hand. It says open hand because there is a closed hand Hungarian bootleg Darth Vader as well. But this is the more rare of the two because it came with a saber. The other one did not come with a saber, to my knowledge. So this is an absolute stunner. Very distinctive cape. Look at the cape texture on that. Oh, man, it's mouth-watering. Absolutely mouth-watering. Anyway, a channel viewer or Patreon supporter. I can't remember, Anthony, if you are a Patreon supporter or not. I forgot to look, but he did use the eBay affiliate link, so appreciate that. And he also did say that he was open to doing a trade maybe in a few years after he's had a few years to enjoy this one. And he did end up getting this one in a make an offer situation. I will not disclose the sales price just to give him some privacy, but oh man, I really wanted this item bad. So congratulations, Anthony, on that one. That one is an absolutely beautiful Darth Vader. It would have gone perfect with all my other graded bootlegs, but I just didn't want to spend any money. And I'm glad that somebody else who watches the channel was able to get such a beautiful rarity. And I just want to say thank you again to all my Patreon supporters who used a lot of those eBay affiliate links for some of the Spanish figures for this Vader. Really appreciate the channel support. And thank you as always for watching, and I'll be back soon.